Welcome to my latest YouTube video on the dark history and hauntings of Warwickshire Castle. This mighty fortress has stood tall for over a millennium, enduring wars, sieges, and countless tourist selfies. But beyond its towering walls and majestic turrets lies a darker side to the castle's past. From spine-tingling apparitions to phantom footsteps, Warwickshire Castle has more ghosts than a Halloween party in a cemetery. Join us as we journey through the castle's haunted halls, encountering the restless spirits of its former inhabitants. Whether you're a fan of history, horror, or just have a thing for medieval architecture, this video is sure to entertain and educate you. So sit back, relax, and let us take you on a journey through the history and hauntings of Warwickshire Castle. Warwick Castle is a medieval castle located in the town of Warwick, in the county of Warwickshire, England. The castle has a rich history dating back over 1,000 years, and has been owned by various individuals and groups throughout its history. The origins of Warwick Castle can be traced back to the year 914, when Ethelfleda, daughter of King Alfred the Great, built a fortified settlement, on the site of what is now Warwick. The castle itself was built by William the Conqueror in 1068, as part of his efforts to establish control over England after the Norman conquest. The original castle was a motte and bailey design, which sounds like something you'd order at a fancy coffee shop. But in reality, it was just with a wooden keep on top of a raised earthwork, the motte, and a walled enclosure, the bailey, surrounding it. Over the centuries, the castle passed through the hands of various noble families, including the de Beaumont, de Newburgh, and de Bohun families. In the 14th century, the castle was extensively rebuilt by Thomas de Beauchamp, the 11th Earl of Warwick. He added a stone curtain wall and gatehouse, as well as a range of buildings within the castle walls. In the 15th century, the castle passed to the Neville family, and it was during their ownership that the castle played a significant role in the Wars of the Roses. Richard Neville, the 16th Earl of Warwick, was a key figure in the conflict, and he famously switched sides multiple times, earning him the nickname the Kingmaker. He supported both the Yorkist and Lancastrian factions at different times, and even helped to depose two kings, Henry VI and Edward IV, before he was killed at the Battle of Barnet in 1471. After the Wars of the Roses, the castle passed to the Greville family, who owned it for over 400 years. The Grevilles made significant changes to the castle, including the addition of a new baroque-style gatehouse in the 17th century, and a Georgian-style facade in the 18th century. They also landscaped the castle grounds, creating gardens and ornamental lakes. In the 20th century, the castle was owned by the Tussauds Group, who turned it into a tourist attraction. They added various exhibits and attractions, including a dungeon tour and a waxworks museum. In 2007, the castle was sold to the Merlin Entertainments Group, who continue to operate it as a tourist attraction to this day. Today, Warwick Castle is a popular destination for tourists, with thousands of visitors flocking to see its medieval architecture, historical artifacts, and landscaped grounds every year. It is also used as a venue for concerts, events, and weddings. Now that we've explored the fascinating history of Warwick Castle, it's time to delve into its eerie and ghostly side. It's no surprise that a castle with such a long and storied history has its fair share of ghost stories and paranormal activity. One of the most well-known ghosts is the infamous Lady in Black. The Lady in Black is one of the most intriguing and enduring ghost stories associated with Warwick Castle. As the legend goes, the Lady in Black was a servant who was accused of poisoning the daughter of the Earl of Warwick. Her fate was sealed when she was thrown into the castle's dark and dank dungeons, where she perished in agony. But it seems that death was not the end for the Lady in Black. Many visitors and staff members of the castle have reported seeing a ghostly figure dressed in black wandering through the dungeon corridors. Some have even claimed to feel a sudden chill in the air or an eerie presence when passing through the areas where the Lady in Black is said to appear. The ghostly apparition of the Lady in Black is said to be one of the most active, and well-known hauntings in the castle. Her ghost has been spotted not only in the dungeon areas, but also in other parts of the castle, including the chapel and the Great Hall. It seems that her spirit is restless and seeks to roam the castle's halls even in death. But who was the lady in black, and what drove her to allegedly commit such a heinous act as poisoning the Earl's daughter? The truth is, there is little historical evidence to support the legend of the Lady in Black. However, that hasn't stopped her story from becoming a part of the castle's spooky folklore. Some speculate that the Lady in Black may have been a victim of circumstance, wrongly accused and punished for a crime she didn't commit. Others believe that she may have been a vengeful spirit, seeking revenge on those who wronged her in life. Whatever the truth may be, the legend of the Lady in Black continues to capture the imagination of those who visit Warwick Castle, and her ghostly presence remains a mystery that may never be fully explained. The next restless soul that haunts this castle is the ghost of Sir Fulk Greville, is one of the most famous and intriguing spectres that haunts Warwick Castle. Sir Fulk Greville was a remarkable poet, playwright, and statesman who lived in the castle during the 17th century. He was a close friend and confidant of the powerful Tudor Queen, Elizabeth I, and he used his position of influence to promote the arts and literature in England. However, despite his achievements, Sir Fulk Greville's life came to a tragic and violent end. He was murdered in 1628 by his own servant, Ralph Heywood, who was reportedly jealous of the affection Greville showed towards another servant. Heywood then turned the weapon on himself and died by his own hand. The incident shocked the nation and brought an abrupt end to the life of a man who had contributed so much to the arts and politics of his time. Despite the passage of time, the ghost of Sir Fulk Greville is said to still haunt the tower of Warwick Castle. Many visitors and staff have reported seeing a ghostly figure dressed in Elizabethan clothing, wandering the tower and staircases. Some have even claimed to hear the sound of footsteps and doors opening and closing, despite no one being present. Many believe that Sir Fulk Greville's ghost is seeking revenge for his untimely demise, and that he is still searching for justice for his murder. Others speculate that the ghost is simply restless, unable to find peace and solace in the afterlife. Whatever the reason for his ghostly presence, the tale of Sir Fulk Greville's murder and the haunting of his ghost continues to capture the imagination of those who visit Warwick Castle. It is a haunting reminder of the tragic fate that can befall even the most accomplished and distinguished individuals, and of the enduring power of ghostly legends to captivate and intrigue us. There are several stories and accounts of encounters with the ghost of Sir Fulk Greville at Warwick Castle. One of the most famous stories is from the 18th century, when a group of visitors were exploring the tower where Sir Fulk Greville is said to haunt. As they were making their way up the narrow staircase, they heard the sound of someone coming down the stairs towards them. When they looked up, they saw the ghostly figure of a man in a long cloak descending towards them. The group was terrified and quickly fled the tower, never forgetting their eerie encounter. Another story tells of a cleaner who was working in the tower late at night. As she was cleaning, she suddenly felt a cold chill and heard the sound of someone whispering her name. She turned around but saw no one. Suddenly, she felt a hand on her shoulder and turned to see the ghostly figure of Sir Fulk Greville standing behind her. She screamed and ran from the tower, never returning to work at the castle again. According to reports, there is also a malevolent spirit with an aggressive nature that is said to haunt the castle's dungeon. This spirit is said to be responsible for a wide range of paranormal activity, from strange noises and unexplained footsteps to objects moving on their own, people even being physically attacked. One of the most well-known incidents of poltergeist activity at Warwick Castle occurred during an investigation in the Kingmaker, a dark and winding labyrinth of rooms filled with waxworks depicting medieval scenes. Witnesses claim that a coin was thrown towards the group from beyond the gates, an occurrence that is often associated with poltergeist activity. Similarly, during a vigil in Caesar's Tower, a group of investigators reported experiencing such intense activity that they were forced to leave the area. Witnesses have also reported seeing shadowy figures, feeling sudden drops in temperature, and hearing disembodied voices throughout the castle. You may have heard about the witch at Warwickshire Castle. The witch in question was known as Moll Bloxham, or Moll o' the Warwickshire, and she lived in the area during the 16th century. According to local folklore, Moll was a powerful witch who had made a pact with the devil and was feared and respected by many in the community. However, Moll's reputation eventually caught up with her, and she was accused of practicing witchcraft. In 1597, she was brought to trial and found guilty of her crimes. She was sentenced to death by burning at the stake on Gallows Hill, which overlooks Warwick Castle. Before she died, Moll is said to have uttered a terrible curse on the castle and its owners. She prophesied that every male heir to the castle would die a violent death, and that the castle would be plagued by misfortune and tragedy for generations to come. At the time, Moll's curse was dismissed as the rantings of a madwoman. However, over the centuries, there have been several deaths and tragedies associated with Warwick Castle that have led many to believe that Moll's curse was real. One of the most famous victims of the curse was Sir Fulk Greville, who was a poet, statesman, and owner of Warwick Castle in the early 17th century. Sir Fulk was murdered by his manservant in 1628, and some people believe that his death was a result of Moll's curse. Other tragic events associated with the castle include the death of Richard Neville, the 16th Earl of Warwick, who was killed at the Battle of Barnet in 1471, and the death of Edward Plantagenet, 17th Earl of Warwick, who was executed for treason in 1499. Despite the many deaths and tragedies associated with Warwick Castle, there is no concrete evidence to support the existence of a curse. Many of the stories and legends surrounding the castle may be more myth than reality, and some people believe that they have been exaggerated or fabricated over time. However, the story of Moll Bloxham and her curse has become a popular part of Warwick Castle's history and folklore. It has captured the imaginations of visitors and locals alike, and continues to be a source of fascination and intrigue for those who are drawn to the castle's rich and mysterious past. Whether or not you believe in the curse of Moll Bloxham, there is no denying the enduring allure and mystique of Warwick Castle. According to local folklore, the grounds of Warwick Castle are said to be haunted by a spectral hound known as the Black Dog. This mysterious canine is said to be a harbinger of doom and destruction, appearing as a bad omen to those who encounter it. Its ominous presence is believed to be an indication of imminent danger, often warning of tragedy or misfortune. The Black Dog is a well-known figure in English folklore, and is often associated with dark forces and supernatural powers. Its origins are uncertain, but similar spectral hounds can be found in the legends and folklore of many cultures around the world. At Warwick Castle, reports of the Black Dog date back several centuries, with many visitors and employees claiming to have seen the ghostly hound roaming the castle grounds. Its appearance is said to be fleeting, often disappearing before anyone can get a good look at it. However, those who have encountered the Black Dog describe it as a large, dark creature with glowing eyes and a menacing presence. Many of the sightings of the Black Dog have occurred in the areas around the Mound, the Peacock Garden, and the Bear Tower, with some people claiming that the dog seems to be following them. Others have reported feeling a sense of unease or dread when in its presence, as if it is trying to warn them of some impending danger. Now on to the ghostly monk of Warwick Castle, is one of the most famous and intriguing legends associated with this ancient fortress. The tale goes that the monk was a member of the clergy, who committed a grievous sin by breaking his vows of chastity with a young woman. His actions were considered a betrayal of his religious duty and a violation of the sacred trust placed in him as a man of the cloth. As punishment for his transgression, the monk was walled up alive in a small chamber within the castle walls. This was a gruesome and horrific form of execution, meant to ensure that the offender suffered a slow and agonizing death. The room in which the monk was entombed was sealed shut, with no windows or doors, and the only means of communication with the outside world was a small hole through which food and drink could be passed. Despite being walled up alive, the monk did not go quietly into the night. For many years after his death, visitors to the castle reported seeing ghostly apparitions and experiencing strange phenomena within the walls. Some claimed to hear muffled cries and whispers emanating from the sealed chamber, while others reported feeling cold spots and sudden gusts of wind. Over time, the legend of the ghostly monk took on a life of its own, and people came from far and wide to see if they could catch a glimpse of the spectral figure or hear the faint echoes of his final prayers. The tale became an integral part of the castle's history and culture, and today, visitors can participate in ghost tours and other spooky events that feature the story of the monk as a central theme. Over the years, numerous visitors and staff members have reported seeing a ghostly figure dressed in the robes of a monk wandering the halls of Warwick Castle. Many believe that this is the same monk who was walled up alive within the castle walls centuries ago. One story tells of a group of tourists who were visiting the castle when they saw a figure in a hooded robe disappear through a wall. Another account involves a member of the castle staff who was working late one night when they saw a monk-like figure standing in a doorway, staring back at them before suddenly vanishing. Perhaps the most famous sighting of the ghostly monk occurred in the 1990s, when a group of visitors to the castle were taking a guided tour. As they approached a room known to be haunted by the monk, they saw a figure in a monk's robe standing in the doorway. The guide tried to explain the sighting away as a trick of the light, but the group insisted that they had seen something truly paranormal. And that's all we have time for today. I hope you liked this video. Take care, and I will see you in the next one.